Hello, I have with me Brian McCallister, who is just after his first talk of two. So let me fire up with the first question. You said that uptime is also a feature, can also be considered a feature. But then again, there's a saying that good enough is good enough. So how can you balance both of those?
Uptime is a feature, but good enough is good enough. Good enough uptime, is a feature. So if customers have a certain expectation of uptime and a certain tolerance of uptime depending upon what the application is. And, there are a lot of times where it's just not that critically important compared to other things. And so when you're trying to weigh what is good enough for right now, you have to weigh uptime against other things. The canonical example of this was during Twitter's hypergrowth. They had horrible uptime. You were playing roulette with whether or not they would be available. But compared to the functionality they were getting, it wasn't that important compared to other things. Now, eventually, enough people were getting annoyed enough that it became really important, and you stopped seeing the fail whale. But, when you're weighing what needs to be done, there's times where that is most important and that is not most important. And it just has to be taken into account when you're balancing.
Because having a startup really means that you build a thing and then it gets popular. So you scale ad hoc. And what could you say that is a single most important piece of technology that lets you skip those ad hoc scaling and get to a sustainable pace of maintenance?
It's not a technology that's the most important thing. It's users. So you can't skip it. That ad hoc, the ad hoc features, the ad hoc scaling. It's something that always happens. It's just the forces acting on you, the right thing to do at a point in time, are going to make it so that you're going to have to react to the immediate tactical issue. The best way to, sort of smooth that over and make it more predictable is to have done it before and recognize that, these are the kinds of things. One of the points I was making at the end, which was, try to don't work against where you want to be, is a very helpful guidance. Have some vision for, if we had all the time in the world, here's how we would make this work. We don't have all the time in the world. We're not going to make it work that way right now, but work in a way that is compatible with getting there, so that you're at least making forward progress slowly, inch by inch, if not in a straight line.
You mentioned the vision in your talk when you said that there should be a shape of the solution versus the shape of implementation, and you should actually go towards making the shape of implementation look like the shape of the solution. It's quite easy to test the implementation, right? To write unit tests. How do you test the shape of the solution that actually it is right?
How do you test the shape of the solution if it's right? That's a fabulous question because I don't have a good answer other than, does it work? The only, proof of the solution you're trying to get to working is the existence proof. You got there and it works. Because by definition, you don't have it before you're there. You can absolutely prototype things. You can try to replay load against things. But it is, the sort of, where we're talking about that solution that you're trying to progress towards incrementally. To some degree, it's a leap of faith that this is the right thing to do. And it'll change. You'll say, oh, this is that, you represent it as a line of possibilities. So you have a problem space and a solution space, and where you're trying to get is somewhere in that solution space. And as you get closer, it'll narrow down and narrow down as you learn more. But, it's not fully understood until you're past it. And once you're past it, you're moving towards some additional solution. So there's no test other than its existence.
Some of it is obviously based on intuition, and you mentioned biases. So you had your bias that you just hack the solution and ship it. Have your biases like I know shifted? Have they changed?
Sure. So, I mean, people's biases definitely change over time, but not, there's, so people tend to develop a mode in which they know how to work and they know how to work well. What, I do well is, hack something together and see what, and I've done that a lot. And so it's something I am particularly expert at, whereas, somebody else is particularly expert at, organizing groups of people to coordinate things and build a sort of more mature solution. And so when I say that someone has a bias, they have a, if you have to act without thinking, what is it you do? And so my bias is still, slap something together and see how it performs in production. And it's unlikely that that's going to change because this is just like your sort of gut when you're under pressure. What is the thing that you try to do? What is your thing that you have met the most success with? And that's usually formed, and people have sort of their crucible in their beginning of their career, which shapes, a lot of what's going to come. And, typically how people start, what they get their, they develop a bias, what you do well, you just keep working towards and doing towards and you build on your strengths. And so that's what I mean by, people have a bias that they fall back to. People overcome their biases, like I can be methodical and careful if I have to, but, that's not what I have to work to do that.
So play the devil's advocate for me. Obviously, your bias is still hack it and ship it, but were there any moments where it put you in trouble?
Almost all of them. So, I mean, let's see. Play the devil's advocate with you. Where did I fail with hack it and ship it? Oh, which one? Okay, so I know you want a specific one, but I'm going to pull out a general and I'll work towards specific. You hack it and ship it, it's usually going to fall over. And then you see why it fell over, and you hack it and you ship it again. And you see why it fell over, and you hack it and you ship it again. So a fabulous example, early in Ning's existence, we had a application called Qt. No. It was so back in like 2005, 2006. There was a huge trend towards like this or that. Which animal is cuter? Which girl is cuter? Which whatever. Pick one. It's just a little voting thing. And there was this blog called Qt Overload. It's still out there, and Qt Overload drives more traffic than Slashdot, TechCrunch, Reddit combined. People like cute animals a lot. And then they went and so at the time Ning was a platform as a service, and they wrote this little application that was, which animal's cuter, and they put it at the top of the blog. And our traffic went up, 20x instantly as soon as that went live. And so we're like, okay, well, we're falling over horribly because we're not meant to sustain this kind of write rate. You make trade-offs, so that's one of the things we did. So let's change rights to work this way. Okay, that didn't work. We fell over. Let's change rights to work this way. It didn't work. It fell over. Let's change rights to work this way. It didn't work. It fell over. And so over the course of, about a day, we just, say this might work. It sounds plausible. Hack it, deploy it.